Right now, there is a push to crack down on undocumented immigrants here in Madison. I'm Josh Spreiter, live in downtown this morning. Why the Dane County Sheriff is against the federal policy.
Thank you, Josh. The White House is watching closely as the first trial resulting from the special investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election starts in federal court.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to News 3 This Morning. It is Tuesday, last day of the month, July 31st.
It's hard to believe.
Don't remind me.
I know, seriously. Are we pumped for the kids to go back to school, or is it too early to be talking about that?
Depends on if you ask my wife after spending a few hours with the two younger ones yesterday, she would say most definitely yes.
Hey, at least we can get the kiddos outside to play today, at least for most of the day.
Yes, for sure. We have sunshine in the forecast and pretty good conditions. You may have to dodge some raindrops again this afternoon, but it will be dry this morning. Kind of an interesting sunrise taking place here in Madison. Sun came up at 5:47. A little bit of cloud cover in the area. Also a little bit of fog, especially through the Wisconsin River Valley and maybe parts of western Dane County. Visibility at Lone Rock is right around 0. Quarter-mile visibility in Boscoville and about a half a mile to the northeast in Juneau. Juneau received quite a bit of rain yesterday, so the ground is likely pretty wet there this morning. 54 degrees in Juneau this morning, as well as here in Madison, 56 in the Dells, 57 in Platteville. A nice warm-up once again. It's kind of a rinse and repeat type of forecast. We're looking at a high of 81 degrees today. Sunshine this morning, then a few of those showers or thunderstorms this afternoon. Now a look at first alert traffic this morning. So far things have been pretty good on the roads and looks like that trend continues. I did look around the area, no accidents to report right now, so you're still going at posted speeds heading into Madison.
I actually need that after yesterday. You weren't here yesterday, but we had state highways closed down. It was brutal.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
We start the news this hour with news from Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney that Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers, otherwise known as ICE, are stepping up their presence in the Madison area.
Federal government says enforcement makes the community safer, but the sheriff doesn't agree. Josh Spreiter's live at the Dane County Jail with the sheriff's reaction this morning. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Sheriff Mahoney tells me his staff is already working hard to keep the community safe. With ICE coming in and requesting his department to participate, it's putting even more work on his deputies who are already working hard enough to do so. So far, only one law enforcement agency in the state has signed on with the 287G program. Back in April, the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department was approved for the program, which trains deputies assigned to the jail to assist in identifying people who are in the country illegally. Mahoney says the federal government's move is going against his mission as sheriff.
Because my mission as a local law enforcement agency, as a county sheriff's office charged with overall public safety in my community, is first to build trust in that community and carry out the duties and demands that the community has told me are their priorities, and that's what I do.
Mahoney says the Dane County Jail doesn't notify ICE of inmates' immigration status, but the agency can actually identify illegal immigrants through the FBI's National Criminal Intelligence Center. That center receives fingerprints obtained during the booking process. Other agencies in Wisconsin are also speaking out against ICE. Voces de la Frontera released a statement recently saying, quote, ICE is a lawless organization that makes the public less safe. It is up to the public to stand together and demand safety for families. Guys.
Certainly a fluid situation that we will continue to cover here. Josh Spreiter reporting live from downtown Madison. Thank you, Josh.
6:04 almost right now on this Tuesday morning. Jury selection begins today in the trial of the president's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort. He is accused of bank and tax fraud by federal investigators during his time working as a lobbyist for the government of Ukraine. It's the first trial stemming from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, but it's about financial fraud, not about Russia. Manafort has pleaded not guilty to 18 counts. He could face decades in prison if he's convicted. The president, meanwhile, continues to stress his campaign did not collude with the Russians, and prosecutors have told this federal judge in the Manafort trial no witness will even mention Russia.
Back closer to home, the man who stabbed a woman on Madison's west side this spring will find out how much time he will spend in prison for that crime later today. Michael Wagner pleaded guilty in June to attempted murder after admitting to stabbing his wife with a number of small children in the home at the time. Prosecutors say that detectives found one of those children standing in a pool of blood when they arrived on the scene. Wagner could face life in prison at his sentencing today. We'll be sure to have an update over on channel3000.com.
The Indianapolis man accused of crashing his truck into a Wisconsin school bus filled with middle school students will be trying to get out of jail today before his trial starts. We're talking about 42-year-old Wayne Murphy. He's accused of being under the influence of prescription drugs when that crash happened on the interstate. 20 people were injured at the time back in May. Court documents quote witnesses who reportedly saw Murphy driving erratically before the crash on the interstate, and detectives say he seemed unconcerned afterwards about the people he had allegedly hurt. He's been held in the Columbia County Jail since on a $35,000 cash bond. His lawyers looking to get that amount reduced in court today. Murphy's facing 10 felony charges in connection with that crash.
6:05 right now, and firefighters in Friendship are still looking into the cause of a fire that engulfed and destroyed a Main Street bar there. The Friendship Bar and Bowl is usually closed on Sundays, so while the building is a total loss, no one was inside at the time and no one was hurt. Nearly 40 firefighters from 4 different departments were on the scene around 1 o'clock Monday morning. Crews were there for about 8 hours putting that fire out before using a machine to tear down the walls to try and get a better idea of what may have caused it. Main Street in Friendship is back open this morning.
3 Wisconsin factory workers are still in the hospital this morning after a pneumonia leak at a frozen foods plant in Walworth County. 15 employees in all had to be sent to the hospital Sunday morning after that ammonia leak at the Bird's Eye factory in Darien. 75 more workers had to be treated by paramedics, EMTs at the scene. Now, the Darien fire chief would not comment on how the workers still in the hospital were doing because of federal privacy laws. The plant, meanwhile, reopened yesterday afternoon after its ammonia levels were judged to be back down in a safe range. The initial indication from investigators is that a mechanical malfunction led to that leak.
Want to let you know about a first alert traffic update this morning down in Rock County. In particular, drivers on the interstate between Madison and Janesville should have a little easier time with a new traffic pattern that's now in effect. Crews have finished work on a bridge over the Rock River, and traffic is now back to its normal lanes going both northbound and southbound. Further south near Janesville, though, a little bit of a different story. That's where there are new lane shifts after you cross the Rock River Bridge. That stretch of the interstate's reconstruction project is expected to be finished up this fall.
Speaking of Janesville, the city's homeowners could see their property assessments go up by as much as 20% over the next year. This comes as the city reassesses commercial and residential properties for the first time since 2011. Janesville Gazette reports that the City Assessors Division will start collecting that data next month to compare recent sale prices to the listed property assessments. Now, higher assessments usually lead to higher property taxes, but the paper reports city leaders would not commit to that. State law requires the assessments and market values to be within 90 to 110% of one another, and because of an increase in sales prices over the last few years, the city is expecting a fairly significant increase for many homeowners. Those assessment changes will be announced publicly next summer.
Staying in Janesville, schools there will start upgrading some of the district's security measures ahead of school starting in a little over a month. This comes after the district was awarded $420,000 from the state for school safety. The Janesville Gazette reports that's about $38,000 more than what the district had requested. The plans include buying radio amplifiers to help first responders communicate in an emergency, as well as additional police radios for the district's middle and high schools. The district also tells the Gazette it wants to install fob readers so more doors in the schools can only be opened by staff members. There are also plans to put in safety film on the school's main entrance doors to prevent that glass from shattering.
Madison School Superintendent Jennifer Cheatham is set to release the district's new long-term goals at a news conference this morning. Part of the new strategic framework includes specific recommendations on how to better the academic performance of students of color. Superintendent will release how schools are doing with graduation and achievement levels at the lower grades at an event at Nuestro Mundo Grade School. We'll have an update on News 3 at 5. As well as on channel3000.com.
6:09 your time this morning, and the Madison Water Board is talking tonight about how the utility can better balance its budget. This comes after News 3 reported it's $6 million in debt and cannot pay its bills. We'll share its auditors' recommendations after the break.
And we're looking at another pretty nice day today, partly sunny overall with highs in the low 80s. Hattie's watching for the chance for some storms, though, this afternoon. Those clouds might thicken up a little bit as they head into the evening. Her first alert forecast is next on News 3 This Morning.
This portion.
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. On this Tuesday morning, we have mostly sunny skies across a good part of southern Wisconsin. Now, yesterday, we did have quite a few showers and thunderstorms pop up across the area. There would seem to be a general line from about Fond du Lac through Madison down towards Platteville and Dubuque. That's where most of the activity was yesterday. You can see those scattered rain estimates as estimated by the radar. Here in Madison, officially at the airport, just under 1/4 inch of precipitation. But I can tell you at my house on the west side of town, we got almost 3/4 inch. We were under one of those stronger showers and thunderstorms during the early afternoon time frame. Some parts of our viewing area, though, did pick up over 1 inch, especially north and east of Madison. Now, it is pretty quiet this morning as expected. All of the activity fell apart as the sun set. There's a storm system moving through the Ohio River Valley, and that is creating numerous showers and thunderstorms this morning just south of Cincinnati. That cloud cover, though, from that system is clipping far southeastern Wisconsin. Plenty of sunshine, though, to the north and west. Now, if you are interested in astronomy, you might want to take a peek at the skies tonight, or maybe you've already noticed Mars is pretty bright right now. It is moving closest to the Earth today. It actually occurred earlier this morning, but it passed just 35.8 million miles away. And that's close for the red planet. If you want to see it, it's pretty bright and it's visible in the southern sky. Best time to see it, though, would be a couple of hours to 2 or 3, 4 hours after sunset as you approach midnight. It is the fourth brightest object in the sky right now, behind the sun, moon, and the planet Venus. It's also twice as bright as Jupiter. If you miss it tonight, don't worry. You have several nights. It is going to be very bright in the sky all the way through August into September. Here's a look at our WISC-TV sky cam. Again, a little bit of cloud cover to the south and east, kind of blocking out some of that sunshine early this morning. Also some fog in the area. Parts of western Dane County and through the Wisconsin River Valley are dealing with some fog, reducing visibility this morning. Temperatures are in the 50s, some spots still in the 60s, but 50s more prevalent this morning. We'll climb through the 50s pretty quickly, though, through the 60s, back into the upper 70s by lunchtime. Again, a few showers or thunderstorms popping up across the area. They'll diminish, though, through the evening. As the sun sets, temperatures will be dropping through the 60s. Our extended forecast is really not that cool, though. We cooled down to a high of 80 on Thursday, but then we're back into the mid and even upper 80s as we head into next week. So lots of heat and humidity returning to the area. Let's get a look at your first alert traffic update this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, it's a pretty quiet start on the Madison roadways. All good on the Beltline right now in both directions. No delays showing up so far this morning. As we look at other roads here in Dane County, the usual brake lights are popping up on the northbound side of Rona Road and Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline ramps. That should only slow you down an extra minute or two. Everything is moving well downtown around the Capitol Square and UW campus. Volume shouldn't be an issue at least for another half hour or so. And there is some fog hanging around here in southern Wisconsin. Just be aware and have those headlights on. But other main routes heading into the city, they're cruising along at the posted speeds with no crashes or delays. With your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. 6:16 almost your time right now, and people living in Merrimack are drinking bottled water for this foreseeable future as the Army continues to test wells for a chemical once used to make explosives. Now, recent tests over at the Badger Army ammunition plant have shown elevated levels of a chemical known as DNT, which has been linked to cancer. The Army will continue handing out bottled water to residents around there until the levels are restored to a safe level. Now, despite concerns about contamination making its way into the Wisconsin River, experts say the river will be able to dilute the pollutants enough to keep that water safe.
Madison Water Utility Board is looking at advice this afternoon from its outside accountant as it deals with a $6 million budget deficit. News 3 reported earlier this summer the utility's negative cash balances were actually identified by staff in quarterly reports last year, but not acted upon by leadership or the board. The utility's outside accountant, Baker Tilly, recommends finance staffers and the general manager use best practices from other local governments to better monitor the utility's cash flow going forward. The city, meanwhile, is loaning Madison Water the money to pay its bills. That cost, the utility says, will eventually be passed on to ratepayers over the next couple of years.
Madison alders are starting the process today to possibly implement a $17 wheel tax in the city. Mayor Paul Soglin says the new vehicle registration fee could pay for road repairs and increased gas prices. This fee to drive in Madison, though, would be on top of a $28 countywide wheel tax set to go into effect this fall, and the $75 fee the state already charges. The Transportation Committee meets at 5 o'clock today at the City County Building. We'll have an update tonight on News 3 at 10. 6:17 right now. There are some injuries, unfortunately, to talk about at Packers training camp today. Coming up, we'll take you to St. Norbert's College and let you know who's banged up and how serious those injuries are.
Should be a pretty decent day weather-wise if folks want to go watch Packers training camp today. There's a change coming, though, by the time we hit the weekend. And his updated forecast is next on News 3 this morning.
Just when you Good morning. I'm meteorologist Hattie McLean. Favorite time of the morning when we can see the polar bear taking a swim, and Barrett is swimming this morning. Take a live look from the Henry Vilas Zoo Skycam. You can see Barrett enjoying her time in the pool. Be a good day to head to the pool as long as you can dodge those raindrops a little bit later on. Our forecast for today takes temperatures from the 50s this morning quickly through the 60s into the 70s by lunchtime today, and we're looking at a high of 81 degrees here in Madison, 82 in Janesville, 80 in the Dells, and 81 in Watertown. Again, just like yesterday, a few showers or isolated thunderstorms are possible this afternoon. Still chances for rain in the forecast on Wednesday and Thursday. Right now, Friday and Saturday look dry. Get ready for a hot weekend as well. Saturday's high is 88 degrees with more humidity. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Hattie. It's 6:22 right now. A number of Packers players will likely be sitting out this morning's training camp session after getting hurt on Monday. Linebacker Jake Ryan, safety Kentrell Bryce were carted off the field after hurting their knees. Running back Aaron Jones, defensive end Mike Daniels are also both dealing with minor injuries today. We are hoping to hear from Coach Mike McCarthy, General Manager Brian Gutekunst. Before practice today, the Packers play their first preseason game at Lambeau Field next Thursday against the Titans.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's early August. Sports Director Jay Wilson will have the latest from training camp tonight on News 3 at 6.
From football to baseball, today is the deadline for Major League Baseball trades, and the Brewers might be looking for a new starting pitcher as the team tries to make the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Milwaukee is one of those teams who have asked about Mets starter Zach Wheeler. Now, he threw 6 shutout innings to earn a win Sunday against the Pirates. Milwaukee's top starter, Jimmy Nelson, has been hurt since the start of the season. Brent Sutter just went on the DL a couple weeks ago as well. The Brewers traded for third baseman Mike Moustakas over the weekend. Now, the Brewers are up by 2.5 games in the National League wildcard race after a late-night win against the Dodgers. The power at Dodger Stadium actually went out in the second inning. That's kind of wild. That delayed the game about 20 minutes while crews worked to get the lights back on. Power's not out, though, for Mr. Eric Thames. He hit a 3-run homer right there, which put the Brewers up 4-0. They went on to win 5-2. The Brew Crew now just a game behind the Cubs in the NL Central race. They play the Dodgers again tonight. First pitch, 9:10 Central.
So when we were at Miller Park, Eric Thames's arms are so big. I've never seen an individual with bigger forearms than Eric Thames. He's large.
I mean,
yeah.
That's
very,
why
very
you can do what he can do.
Yes, very strong. 6:23 right now. Wisconsin parents may want to start their back-to-school shopping tomorrow because there's truly a once this year in a savings they're going to be able to get. Leah Lynchide will share the details here in a couple minutes.
And there's another security breach to let you know about this morning, potentially impacting hundreds of thousands of Wisconsinites. We'll share the day's top stories when News 3 This Morning returns.
Federal immigration authorities are stepping up their presence in the Madison area, but the Dane County Sheriff says he's not going to help with those efforts. We'll explain why.
MMSD.org/supplies. That's the website, Madison parents. Print it out, check it twice, and hopefully save a little money during a sales tax holiday. Leah has the details coming up.
This is News 3 This Morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to the final half hour of News 3 This Morning at 6:27 on this Tuesday, July 31st.
It's been a nice morning out there so far. Hattie actually had her coat on at one point outside because it was a little chilly. Temperatures were in the low 50s. Let's go outside to the Hattie-O patio this morning. Say hello to our friend. Good morning, kiddo.
Good morning. Yeah, still wearing the jacket this morning. We dropped down to 52 degrees here in Madison, so it was one of our cooler mornings in recent weeks. Temperatures will warm quickly today, though, so don't worry. Another warm day is ahead. Take a live look from the Edgewater Skycam at downtown Madison. We have a few clouds in the area, especially to the east, so that really is kind of blocking some of the sunlight right now. Visibility has been an issue in a few spots this morning. Through the Wisconsin River Valley, there is some fog early today, and then up to the north and east in Juneau. May also be dealing with a little bit of fog west of Madison. Areas like Blue Mounds and Mount Horeb may be seeing some of that fog early today. Clouds are in the south and east this morning, but no rain falling from those clouds right now. There is a chance for a few isolated showers or thunderstorms to pop up this afternoon, just like yesterday, but we'll see a nice warm up. Temperature is at 54 now in Madison, 55 in the Dells. Mineral Point has dropped to 59 degrees. Over the next 12 hours, though, a pretty rapid warm up. Already in the mid 70s by lunchtime, topping in the low 80s this afternoon. Here's a look at your First Alert traffic update this morning. We'll check out the roads here in Madison. While there are a few brake lights showing up on that westbound belt line at Stoughton Road, nothing major happening right now to slow you down. Drive times into the city, well, it looks like you're still going at posted speeds with no slowdowns there as well. And that's your First Alert traffic.
Thank you very much, Hattie. It is almost 6:30 right now on this Tuesday morning. We start this half hour with news that federal immigration and customs enforcement officers are stepping up their presence here in the Madison area.
Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney tells News 3 he was recently contacted by an ICE officer who was just assigned to Madison. Josh Sprider is live this morning outside the Dane County Jail with what we know so far about this federal program here in the city. Josh, good morning.
Good morning. Actually, in the last half hour, President Trump tweeted about respect for ICE and law enforcement across the country and maximum security at the border. This comes as Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney tells us an ICE official asked for him to participate, or the county participate, in the 287G program, which enlists local officials in a national agency. That program is part of a crackdown on immigration that has been a focus of President Donald Trump's administration. Sheriff Mahoney says his staff is already doing an outstanding job at building trust in our community, trust within our immigrant community and our community at large. Mahoney says this program by ICE does the opposite of what his deputies do every day.
And they already have a tough job, and they have a lot of duties that they carry out. And it shouldn't be that they're now becoming federal agents to carry out, the will of a federal administration that now wants local law enforcement to carry out their duties. If that's the direction that the administration wants to go, then they need to take the steps of hiring additional staff to carry out their mission.
Mahoney tells News 3 ICE cautioned him that without his cooperation in detaining inmates, federal agents would be forced to hunt down offenders in the community, which poses unnecessary risks. Mahoney says other law enforcement officials in the county have also refused to cooperate, and we're also told the ICE officer works out of the U.S. Attorney's Office here in downtown Madison. Guys.
Certainly an issue not going anywhere. The president's threatening to shut down the federal government if, in fact, he doesn't get more funding for a border and ICE. All right, Josh Sprider reporting live outside the jail this morning. Thank you.
6:31 right now, and Madison police are looking for the person they believe robbed two pizza places on the city's east side last night. The suspect first pulled a gun on a store worker at a Domino's on Cottage Grove Road. This happened around 9:45. He got away with cash from that register. Then about 20 minutes later and about 4 miles away, a man matching the same description went into a Papa John's on East Wash near East High School and pulled a gun on a worker there. In that case, the store worker got away and the suspect did not get away with any money. We will provide any updates later today on channel3000.com.
Criminal charges may be coming for the Fort Atkinson father, who police say took his children 800 miles away from home against the wishes of his wife. Fort Atkinson police posted on its Facebook page, 35-year-old Wei Zhu and his 3 children were found safe Monday in South Carolina. A statewide crime alert sent out on Saturday said Zhu called his wife, said he was at O'Hare Airport and was going to take their kids to China, but they never got on the plane. Authorities worried he had been mentally unstable and was carrying a gun. There is no word on when the children will be back home here in Wisconsin.
Security officials at Unity Point Health are waiting to see if any patients are victims of fraud or identity theft after another security breach within that company. This is the second time in the last 4 months Unity Point has had to notify its customers about some sort of phishing scam. This time, the company is warning 1.4 million people whose information may have been compromised. Emails were sent to Unity Point employees appearing to come from an executive. Some of those workers reportedly provided their confidential sign-in information, which gave hackers access to internal email accounts. Unity Point representatives say patients' names, birth dates, addresses, medical records, lab results, and insurance information was all involved in this attack. And in some cases, personal information like social security numbers, driver's license information, and credit card numbers may have been accessed. Officials say they've reset passwords for any of the compromised accounts. They've also added new technology to identify suspicious or fraudulent emails and provided mandatory training for employees on the topic.
Dozens of volunteer EMS workers will be back at work starting tomorrow after months away from their jobs in southern Wisconsin. Now, many of these volunteers for rural medical ambulance service in Darlington left earlier this year because they felt they were being mistreated. All 25 of them are going to be back tomorrow after a deal was reached to have the Greene County EMS provide medical services for the area. The Greene County EMS chief says the community should not see any difference in service going forward.
We should get an update later today on Milwaukee's efforts to land the Democratic National Convention in the summer of 2020. The city's offered the new Milwaukee Bucks Arena, now called the Fiserv Forum, as the potential location for that event. Milwaukee's one of 3 finalists, along with Miami and Houston. Bucks Senior Vice President Alex Lasry has been leading the effort to get the DNC to Milwaukee and will update the city's Rotary Club at lunchtime today with his progress. The 4-day convention could generate nearly $250 million spent in the Milwaukee area. Now, with 2 weeks before the primary elections coming up here, the state is reminding voters about the proper identification you will need to cast a ballot. Wisconsin law requires voters to present a photo ID. That can be a Wisconsin driver's license, a passport, Veterans Affairs ID, or even a student ID card with proof of enrollment. If you don't have any of those, you can get a state-issued card from the DMV. Madison's clerk says any ID you bring to the polls does not have to show a current address. If you haven't registered to vote here in Wisconsin, you can do so in person when you vote on August 14th.
6:35 right now, July 31st. Do not mention going back to school to my 3 kids. I made that mistake over the weekend. Might not be a bad time, though, to let parents know that it's getting closer.
Yeah, that's because tomorrow is the start of Wisconsin's 5-day-long sales tax holiday, where some back-to-school shopping items actually won't be taxed. Leah Linscheid is in the news center this morning with some of the details on what you can buy for a little less. Good morning, Leah.
Morning. Sorry, Schrager kids, but it's time to start thinking about packing your book bag. And this is a good time, right? Right before the school year to take advantage of the no sales tax for a couple of days. Are a couple of rules. Each item of clothing has to cost less than $75. Same with each individual school supply. Computers have to be less than $750. And if you're wondering where this holiday even came from, well, Governor Walker signed a bill this spring to create the one-time event. Democrats, meanwhile, say it's just an election year gimmick. The holiday starts tomorrow and runs through Sunday. So maybe time to jump out and grab some of that stuff, Adam.
Be interesting to see how much people actually spend.
Definitely.
Over the next 5 days. Because that can add up. I mean, it's expensive. We were talking about
definitely.
the clothes, like, you know, that sun has just made those kids stretch. I don't know what's going on. Can't fit in anything anymore.
You just water them and let them grow, right?
I know. All right, Leah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Your time right now is 6:36, and jury selection starts today in the criminal trial of the president's former campaign chairman. We'll have the latest in the morning sprint.
And we'll let you know about another opportunity to help people in Sun Prairie impacted by this month's explosion. The news is back in the morning on News 3 this morning.
It's our
Welcome back to the program. 20 to 7 now on this Tuesday morning. Time of the morning we always ask you to share your morning with us, and Linda Watson shared this. I'm back on my flower kick.
Nice.
I love tight shots of flowers. The color that's just exploding. Thank you for sharing, Linda. We want to know what your morning looks like. Please take a picture, put it on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. Use that hashtag, though, MyNews3Morning. That's how Danica and I find them and are able to show them off right here on the program.
We want to let you know about another opportunity tonight to help the families who lost their homes in the Sun Prairie explosion earlier this month. The Roundtable Banquet Hall on North Bristol Street is hosting a fundraiser for those families. The Knights of Columbus organization will also donate $300 to each of the families in need of a home right now. That event starts tonight at 6 o'clock.
Speaking of all the home and all the help that people have given so far, the city of Sun Prairie says its disaster relief fund at the Bank of Sun Prairie now has more than $300,000. City officials plan to share that money with people who need it most. The Bank of Sun Prairie will continue taking donations through the end of the year.
6:41 right now. You're waking up to a really nice morning throughout southern Wisconsin. Hattie says we can expect a pretty typical July day with partly sunny skies and temperatures in the low 80s. A little hazy out there near the lake, though, this morning. Her first alert forecast is next.
First, though, we want to say happy birthday to all the kids turning 3 today. If you have a little one turning 3 soon, please let us know so we can show their picture on TV here on News 3 this morning.
Taking a live look this morning in downtown Madison. You are seeing the Capitol right there. Some clouds hanging around the dome this morning, but nothing too shabby. We should have the sun around for most of the day. We will check in with Hattie for your full forecast in just a moment. First, though, Middleton city leaders are laying out plans today for all of its buildings, businesses, and neighbors to use 100% renewable energy.
City Council passed a resolution in Middleton this month to reach that goal by 2040 for the city's operations and by 2050 for the community. State Journal reports the city's also planning to reduce energy use throughout that process. The Madison Common Council, meanwhile, is planning out its goals for zero carbon emissions energy use. And Dane County already has 100% renewable electricity in all of its government buildings. The county is also planning to add a massive solar panel installation to power the airport. Not a bad day for solar power out there today, Ads.
No, you'll be making your money on the solar panels today. Here's a look, though, at a beautiful sunrise. Kenton Fowler took this morning, sunrise over Lake Mendota. Beautiful shot. We didn't quite have as many clouds in the area, so beautiful sunrise picture. Thanks for sending that one in. Have you been noticing, though, that the sun is rising a little bit later each day? I know I have. We are down to 14 hours and 33 minutes of daylight, down from over 15 hours from the longest day of the year. So if you add up the difference, we've lost about 50 minutes or almost an hour of daylight. Sunset today is at 8:20. We'll see plenty of sunshine, though. Clouds in the area from Madison and points to the south and east. To the north and west, skies are completely clear right now. Here's a wider view of what's happening. Those clouds are associated with a storm system that's passing to our south and east, bringing lots of rain and some thunderstorms through the Ohio River Valley this morning. Now, the storm is still close enough that I would expect a few showers and isolated thunderstorms to pop up this afternoon, and we see that on future track later today. Those rain showers and thunderstorms shouldn't be quite as widespread as they were yesterday. Our next weather maker is a cold front that begins to sink down from Canada through the day on Wednesday. It will bring a chance for rain late in the afternoon into the evening hours, so we'll have to watch that closely. Concerts on the square may be impacted by that rain tomorrow. The front will slowly track through the region, keeping the rain chances in the forecast even on Thursday. Our temperatures early this morning are in the 50s here in the Badger State, 54 in Madison, 58 in Wausau, 60s to the west, though. Minneapolis is actually starting at 66 degrees this morning. 50s, though, pretty common through the area, 58 in Lone Rock, 56 in the Dells. Watertown this morning starts at 55 degrees. Dew points are going to hover right around 60, so you may notice a little bit of humidity through the afternoon hours, but not much. We will look for that humidity to return for the weekend. Take a look at your pinpoint city forecast then. Again, that chance for rain later today, 80 in New Glarus, Middleton, 79 today in Monroe. To the west, we're looking at a high of 81 in Prairie du Chien, 80 in Richland Center, as well as Cuba City and Platteville. And to the north, can't rule out a shower or two, but otherwise temperatures in the low 80s, 82 in Montello, as well as Princeton. Poynette tops at 80 degrees. Here in Madison today, we're looking at high temperatures, again in the low 80s, very similar to yesterday with a high of 81 degrees. 83 tomorrow with that chance for rain coming late in the day. We will cool it down, but barely behind that front. We're still 80 on Thursday, and then the heat and humidity return for the upcoming weekend. Take a look at Jackson and Tux. They do not care what the forecast is. They look like they live in a climate-controlled environment.
Yes.
They're very happy.
Otherwise known as a house. Yes. With couch.
Yes, a big fluffy couch.
Thank you so much, Ads.
Always nap time for those, too. Morning Sprint's coming up next right here on News 3 this morning. 6:51, time now for the morning sprint. Hattie is watching some slight chances for storms over the next couple of days. Leah Linscheid is looking ahead to a back-to-school sales tax holiday that starts tomorrow.
Josh Freiter's reporting on the federal immigration enforcement officer now located here in the city of Madison. We start, though, in a federal courtroom in Virginia. That's where the trial for former presidential Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort gets started today. Manafort faces multiple federal charges of bank and tax fraud stemming from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian meddling in the presidential election. Manafort is pleading not guilty to those charges. Now, prosecutors have promised the judge no witness will mention Russia during that trial.
And customs enforcement officers are stepping up their presence in the Madison area. Dane County Sheriff Dave Mahoney tells News 3 he was contacted a few weeks ago by an ICE officer who was recently assigned to Madison. That program is part of a crackdown on immigration, a focus of President Trump's administration. Sheriff Mahoney says his staff is already doing an outstanding job at building trust in our community. He says this program by ICE does the opposite of what his deputies do every day by taking the county's resources away to focus on something the federal government should be doing themselves. Mahoney claims ICE warned him that without his cooperation in detaining inmates, federal agents would be forced to hunt down offenders in the community, which poses unnecessary risks.
Josh, thank you. Madison police are looking for a suspect they believe robbed two East Side pizza places last night. The suspect first pulled a gun on a store worker at a Domino's on Cottage Grove Road around 9:45. He got away with cash there. Then about 20 minutes later and about 4 miles away, a man matching the same description went into a Papa John's on East Wash near East High School and pulled a gun on a worker there. In that case, the store worker got away and the suspect did not get any money.
And we have a few clouds moving into the area today. Temperatures, though, starting in the 50s this morning, so a little bit of a cool start early today. A nice warm-up, though, is expected. Light northeast winds today, slight chances for rain this afternoon, but high temperatures right around 81 degrees. And that's your First Alert forecast.
Thank you, Hattie. For the second time in 4 months, Unity Point Health is notifying patients of a security breach. This time, the company sent warnings to 1.4 million people who may have been compromised by the latest phishing scam. Unity Point staffers clicked on emails they thought were from a company executive, provided confidential sign-in information. The company says that put patients' names, birth dates, social security numbers, medical records, lab results, and insurance information at risk.
Wisconsin's sales tax holiday starts tomorrow, so it's a great time to get some of your school shopping done. You can buy things like clothes, computers, and school supplies. Each item of clothing and individual school supply, though, has to cost less than $75, and computers have to be less than $750. The tax holiday starts Wednesday and runs through Sunday.
Leah, thank you. People in Merrimack will have to drink bottled water until further notice after a chemical used in explosives was found in their drinking water. A recent test found elevated levels of a chemical that's been linked to cancer. Now, Merrimack used to be home to an ammunition plant. Water experts say the Wisconsin River, which runs by Merrimack, should be big enough to dilute any pollutants that get into that water.
The Madison Water Utility will be looking at advice later today from its outside accountant as it deals with a $6 million deficit. The utility's outside accountant, Baker Tilly, recommends its leaders use best practices from other local governments to better monitor the utility's cash flow going forward. The city, meanwhile, will loan the utility the money to pay its bills. That cost, the utility says, will eventually be passed on to ratepayers over the next 2 years.
Madison alders are starting the process today to possibly implement a $17 wheel tax in the city. Mayor Paul Soglin says that new registration fee could help pay for road repairs and increase gas prices. This fee to drive in Madison would be on top of, though, a $28 county-wide wheel tax set to go into effect this fall, and the $75 fee the state already charges. We'll have an update on this public hearing later today on News 3.
Homeowners in Janesville could end up seeing a big increase in their property taxes next year. Janesville Gazette reports property assessments there could go up by 20% over the next year as the city reassesses its commercial and residential properties for the first time since 2011. Higher assessments usually lead to higher property taxes, but the paper reports city leaders would not commit to that. Those assessment changes will be announced publicly next summer.
Dozens of volunteer EMS workers in the Darlington area will be back at work starting tomorrow after months away from their jobs. Now, many of the volunteers for rural medical ambulance service left earlier this year because they felt like they were being mistreated. But all 25 of them will be back after a deal was reached to have Greene County EMS provide medical services for the area starting tomorrow. The Greene County EMS chief says the community should not see any difference in service going forward.
Milwaukee-based Harley-Davidson's coming out with an electric motorcycle next year in an effort to boost sales. The company announced Monday the new live wire electric bike would have no clutch, no gears. Harley also plans to open up smaller stores in some urban areas to try to broaden its appeal.
6:56 right now. Let's get one more look at First Alert traffic with Josh Tim this morning. Hi, Josh.
Good morning. Well, the westbound side of the Beltline beginning to pick up as it tends to do this time of the morning. Some brake lights showing up now between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. That's going to add an extra minute or two. A few slowdowns on inbound John Nolan just before the North Shore Drive intersection heading into the downtown area, but really nothing major to slow you down there. And there is some fog still hanging around here in southern Wisconsin, so be aware and have those headlights on. But other main routes, including on the interstate, are cruising along at the usual speeds. With your First Alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thanks, Josh.
And Barrett says it's a pool day today. This is a live look at the Henry Vial-Zook Skycam, our favorite part of the morning when we get to peek in on the polar bear. Temperatures are in the 50s early this morning, so maybe a little cool if you're heading to the pool early, but a nice warm-up is expected. We're looking at highs in the low 80s. May have to dodge a few raindrops though later on.
Very nice. All right. Thank you, Addie. Superintendent Jennifer Cheatham of Madison Schools is going to be announcing the district's new long-term plans. You can watch that live on channel3000.com, 11 a.m.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert weather app and start planning.